Morning.
Good morning.
So, what are the main things you're trying to achieve in this role then? What are you going to be working on as your top priorities?
Yes, Neat has done some really phenomenal things, which is what attracted me to join the company. And that's like the first step, right? So like what's the next step in scaling that and multiplying the growth of the company and building the engineering organization. It's going from startup to maturity to scale, right? And given my experience at Cisco, I think I can help Neat do that. So that's number one. My priority is to help build the team, help the team grow, and a lot, but at the same time allow them to continue innovating and being that phenomenal, scrappy startup that Neat is, that people see and people have experienced so far, and continue innovating and coming out with thought leadership products in this industry. The industry is full of companies all trying to do similar things, and I think Neat has established itself as a thought leader in many respects, and we want to continue to do that.
I've heard of thought leadership, and I've heard of products. I'm not sure I've heard of a thought leadership product. That's quite interesting. On the subject of thought leadership, what do you think is the area that people really don't understand yet or get wrong or need to know more about in this area that we're working in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Neat has chosen to focus, and that's a very deliberate choice, on keeping things incredibly simple.
Right.
So it's really easy to install a bunch of equipment and cables and controllers and complexity and multiple cameras so that you can but then that comes along with lots of buttons and knobs to tweak, and I think Neat is relentlessly focused on keeping things simple, right? And that is a challenge. So for example, audio quality. Neat's audio quality is the best in the industry. We'd like to claim that. We'd like to have the opportunity to prove that.
When you define in the industry, are you talking about all-in-one video conferencing devices?
Yeah, and I would say video conferencing as a general statement, but
Right.
specifically for sure in the all-in-one video conferencing device category.
Yeah.
But that comes at I wouldn't say at a cost per se, but like that comes with a deliberate decision to not chase every scenario, right?
Yeah.
And we're intentionally building the products to fit within certain specifications, room dimensions and acoustical environments and so forth. And that presents a challenge. Like, how do you get really great audio quality when the person's mouth is 5 meters away from the microphone, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a real challenge. And the strength of that audio signal is much weaker than it would be if the microphone was really close to that person, right? And that's a challenge for us from an engineering perspective to still make that audio sound really great, despite the distance, despite the reverberation of audio bouncing off walls, despite maybe you're turning your face away from the microphone so the signal's weaker, and despite all those challenges, still being able to produce human, lifelike, quality conversation, so you can hear everything that people say. You can hear when people say in the middle of the conversation, because
I'm trying not to say in the middle. I'm trying to avoid.
I was trying to draw you in.
Pick that out. Yeah. But I'd like to pick up on a couple of things there, perhaps in reverse order. So one is simplicity, and one is the audio. It's unusual for what you think of as a display manufacturer to talk first of all about audio. In fact, audio, it almost comes last in many conversations about video conferencing, even though perhaps it should come first.
Which is why I led with it.
We've done this before. Okay, and then the other thing is, you say that what people get wrong is they think that there needs this complexity, but I'm wondering whether that depends on room size.
It does.
So you might need complexity for the large room,
Yes.
but if the challenge is video enabling many more rooms than ever before, are you saying that people are carrying over that complexity of the large room into small and medium-sized spaces throughout, and rollouts across multiple rooms and locations where it's not needed?
I believe so. I believe that's the tendency.
Right.
And that's the misperception. So thank you for bringing me back to that question. That's the misperception, is that we need all of this complexity.
Right.
And we believe that that's not true. And we can solve those use cases with simple, easy to install, easy to use, no cables strung across the floor.
Yeah.
You don't have to run cables under the floor.
Yeah.
And all of the cost associated with doing that. All right, so installing a neat product can save companies thousands of dollars on the physical cable plant and other integration costs, right? That are typical of traditional video conferencing, where you have to run a cable with a microphone to the table, for example. Well, you don't need the microphone at the table with the neat products, because the microphone array in the bar, in the board, is so great that that microphone on the table isn't required. Now, there's a limit to how much, the scalability of that. So at some point, of course, you need to start thinking about getting the microphones closer to the people's mouths.
Right.
Enter neat center.
So there you've got the device in the middle of the table. Because, for the ultimate audio, you might want gooseneck microphones or all lapels, but that's not really...
But then the complexity, right?
And
you've got to pin it, you've got to charge it, you've got to make sure that it doesn't get lost,
We've talked about audio, but the thing that people are really looking at is intelligent cameras.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some confusion about the options out there and how they work together, about what options are in the device,
Yes.
what's available within the device, and what's available on the platform itself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question, because you're right. There's a lot of, I guess I was going to say there's a lot of options, but that's not the right way to say it. I would say there's, many of us in the industry are all trying to solve the fundamental challenge, which is to give the person who's remote, that's not physically present in the meeting, the best experience possible. That's the challenge that we're all trying to solve, right? And especially born out of the pandemic, we want everybody to have an equitable experience in the meeting, right? So whether you're at home or in the office, we want everyone to feel like they have an equal seat at the table when you're in a meeting, right? And that's the goal. We're all trying to solve that. We're all, of course, trying to solve it in different ways, and so therefore you have this diversity of solutions to that problem. With Neat, we would like to think that we demonstrated thought leadership there with Neat Symmetry. We were the first company, and this predates me joining Neat, of course, and one of the reasons I was attracted to join Neat was, this is one example of the innovation coming out of Neat, is Neat Symmetry was the first to say, we're going to frame individual people, bring them forward and composite that so that everybody looks like they're sort of equal in the meeting, right? And all of the other companies have very quickly copied that, which we take as a form of flattery, so thank you very much. And that expands now into more complex but complex in a good way, not necessarily in a bad way, but complex and advanced, perhaps is a better word, variations on that. So like IntelliFrame that Microsoft is doing, right, is a great example. Taking multiple cameras, and based on where you're looking, right, we're going to film you from that camera or from that camera, and where does that intelligence live? Is that intelligence in the physical device that the cameras are attached to? Or is that intelligence at a higher level in the cloud, powered by, GPU-powered servers running in Azure or AWS or GCP, etc.? So that's, every company's approaching it slightly differently and with different combinations. So to the root of your question, which is, what's the difference between the intelligence in the device and the intelligence in the meetings platform like Microsoft Teams or Zoom? And are they complementary, or are they contradictory, or are they competing with one another? The fact or the truth is they're somewhat, we're trying to work together, let's put it that way, right? We're constantly working with our friends at Microsoft and Zoom, talking about how do we make our camera intelligence and the machine learning and AI and advanced algorithms that we've developed at the device level complementary and work together with Zoom or Teams at the application level, right? And we also have difference of opinion sometimes. So let's install multiple cameras in the room, like you said, 8 cameras in the room. To be honest, as a human walking into a room like that, you're just like, okay, where am I supposed to look? And that's the point, is you're not supposed to think that. You're supposed to just have a natural conversation. And the system should be intelligent enough to know, I should film you from this camera or this camera because you're looking here now or you're looking there now. So that's the state that the industry is trying to get to, is for it to seamlessly blend into the background so that the humans don't have to think about which camera should I look at.
Right.
And the system is intelligent enough to know which camera to film you from.
Mm-hmm.
And with Neat, we are starting, again, back to our core values: keep it simple, keep it neat, right? So that's why we've taken the approach that we've taken.
Mm-hmm.
There's a single device at the front of the room, right? The Neat bar or the Neat board, and then the Neat center has 360-degree cameras, overlapping field of view, so there's no gap in coverage.
Yeah.
And we deduct the people that are on the screen, so we can detect that those are 2-dimensional people, not 3-dimensional people, and we remove them. So you wouldn't want to film them and then send that back towards them, right? So we take that out. And we're able to detect where people are looking, and based on where people are looking, we'll either film you from the camera in the center or the camera in the bar or the board.
So the question I'd like to ask now is about attitudes to Android devices.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen that they're very popular.
Yes.
With some people, but also some organizations that eventually adopt Android start off with Windows. Some organizations will only consider Windows, and Windows seems to offer more complex approach for bigger rooms.
Mm-hmm.
How should an end user make a decision when someone comes to them as to whether to go with an Android all-in-one device,
Mm-hmm.
or work on the Android platform and a Windows kind of version?
Windows enjoys a richer feature set, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
on Microsoft Teams specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's maybe not surprising because Windows at Microsoft enjoys a larger percentage of their development resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of course, there's more features available on Windows than there are on Android. But Microsoft is working to shore that gap up and bring the Android feature set on par with the Windows feature set. But that's a journey for them, and we've talked with them about that. So yes, Windows has specifically on Microsoft Teams rooms and perhaps on Zoom rooms as well. Windows-based systems have more features, but I would say look at it from the other angle. Android is a purpose-built, all-in-one appliance. It's locked down. You don't have to worry about administering the operating system. It's an appliance, right? Do you administer the operating system that's running in your refrigerator? No. Likewise, you don't need to worry about administrating the operating system of a Neat bar or a Neat pad or a neat board, right? And because we take care of bundling, the Android operating system and kernel updates, et cetera, et cetera. But more importantly, it's a lockdown system that you can't get into, you can't load any app to, you don't have root access.
So there's no connection with the company's corporate IT network?
So Microsoft does have a Android device administration agent, essentially, that's running on the Neat device. So it is enrolled into the Microsoft Intune backend. But there's not, to be honest, there's not a lot of like OS upgrades, patches, security vulnerabilities that have to be patched. That's not a thing in the Android world because it's so locked down.
Okay. Well, those are the three topics that I wanted to cover. Thank you
Fantastic.
very much for talking to me about.
It's
about
a pleasure
all of
to
that.
meet you. Yeah, thank you very much,
It
guys.
was really great. Thank you.
All right.
Cheers.
Maybe I'll see you in London sometime.
Oh, I hope so. I definitely hope so.
Yeah.